Welcome, Spartans, to Podcast Evolved, your favorite Halo podcast. I'm your host, Oran, and with me today is Krysta.
Yay!
And this week we're going to talk about some Halo Wars 2 updates, and specifically Halo Wars 1 and the lore behind that. Unfortunately, Krysta has to drop out.
Bye, guys.
But we're going to have Aaron, ODST, drop in the second half, and we'll give you some Halo lore, and we're going to talk about the Halo Wars Genesis comic that's kind of a prequel to Halo Wars 1, and we'll give you a detailed look at what happened in that game in case you haven't played it in a while or haven't played it at all, to get you prepared for Halo Wars 2. So stay tuned after the break. And welcome back, Spartans. Aaron is now with us.
Hey, guys.
And we're going to dive into Halo Wars 1 and the prequel comic, Halo Wars Genesis, as part of our main lore topic for today. But first, let's hit it off with some Halo history. Aaron, you want to give that for us?
Okay, so this week I've managed to very vaguely tie this into Halo Wars. So on February 11th, 2525, a Covenant delegation meets with a human delegation on Harvest. And as we all know, that went particularly well. Everyone solved all their differences and war was averted.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that.
And nothing bad ever came of that.
So, I guess, do we want to clarify how that meeting went down?
That meeting went very badly. Lots of people died. Harvest was trashed. Mac roamed wild and free on the plains of Harvest and Combine Harvesters. This is basically the plot from Contact Harvest, the novel, if you haven't guessed it already. It's pretty much Sergeant Johnson's backstory book would be the best way to put it. Like, he features in other things, but this is all Sergeant Johnson. Right. It even has that terrible cringy love scene at the end, the one we particularly love. But it's still a good book. It's well worth reading, and this is when the local inhabitants and the governor of Harvest meet with the Covenant, thinking that they can still make friends with everyone. And I think the meeting ends with a firefight, doesn't it? One of the elites kills a Marine, and it all goes downhill.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good cliffhanger at the end of it.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since I read this book.
I'm thinking of Cole Protocol with Grey Team.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
This one doesn't have the cliffhanger at the end. Yeah. Johnson makes it often. Every time he smokes a cigar, he thinks of women.
Beautiful women. Good for him. What a life.
He had a pretty good life up until the nasty bit at the end when he got shot by a
sentinel
evil
beam.
Football. Right. Well, that's the Halo history anyway. Like, it was a little bit of a stretch to get some Halo Wars related stuff, but I suppose like this sets us up nicely that this is the very start of essentially the Human Covenant War, which leads us into where Halo Wars takes us.
Right. So we get contact on Harvest, and we're scrambling on what to do and how to fight the Covenant, or we being the Unison. And so then I guess we have war and all that kind of stuff, and then it goes into where we have for Halo Wars Genesis, the kind of prequel comic, and it kind of briefly introduces Vice Admiral Preston Cole and the Cole Protocol, and then it quickly introduces the Spirit of Fire and how I guess they come in, they do a quick little mission at Harvest, and then starts getting to the framework that then leads immediately into the game. So we thought it was appropriate to kind of start with that because the comic is actually available on Waypoint. So if you weren't able to get it, because it came with the collector's edition of the game back in 2009.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a copy of that, or you're having trouble finding it online, like elsewhere, it is on Halo Waypoint, so you can go on there and give it a pretty good read, about a half hour or so. But we're going to kind of go over it briefly because it just leads in very nicely to Halo Wars 1. Like we said, Vice Admiral Cole is there at Harvest, or he's not at Harvest, but it kind of introduces the Cole Protocol because the UNSC prophecy another giant vessel is at Harvest and gets kind of like damaged heavily and attacked, and it gets to the point where they can't perform the Cole Protocol. And I guess to explain the Cole Protocol, if you don't know, it's basically where they purge like all their nav computers and their data. And if the ship is able to escape, then it kind of randomly jumps somewhere. So to avoid the Covenant forces from kind of taking hold of the ship and getting information about humanity. So the UNSC prophecy can't do that. So the Spirit of Fire is sent to Harvest to aid them. A task force that includes Sergeant Forge is sent into the ship, and they battle it out, duke it out with some jackals, and eventually are able to purge the vessel and everything, and then head back to the Spirit of Fire, trying to save the crew, but unfortunately is unsuccessful because of the radiation levels of the ship. I assume from the Shah Fukikawa drive being damaged. Is that correct? Do you know?
I think so. It's been a kind of a whipping back through this casually as we go here. It's been a long time since I got into this, but I think they suffered damage. I think is the prophecy was one of Cole's ships in the fleet that took Harvest back.
Right. Yeah. Because a bunch of other ships got destroyed, and because of the fighting off the other Covenant forces.
Yeah, this is if you've ever read the Evolution short story, this is kind of where it kicks off. This is Cole's first big win. I think it's the UNSC's first win against the Covenant in like 4 years, and this kicks off Cole's like total ascent to stardom. Basically, he gets anything he wants after this. He becomes the man. But unfortunately for the prophecy, it didn't go so well for them.
Yeah,
but the prophecy is kind of irrelevant in this. It's sort of the MacGuffin
it's kind of just
the team together.
Exactly, and so that's what I was just kind of trying to get at. So the mission's a success, and Forge goes back. They try to save any survivors they can, but unfortunately they kind of don't. And so the Spirit of Fire is there at Harvest, and they're trying to do kind of battle assessments and figure out what the Covenant are after. And meanwhile, Ellen Anders is like on Arcadia and is looking at Dyson Fears and like researching like signals and stuff like that. And Oni kind of caught wind of that through, I think, Halsey, and basically just like kidnaps her and was like, hey, well, we want you to do some stuff for us, and like takes her and assigns her to the Spirit of Fire with Forge and Cutter as they're starting to kind of intercept some Covenant transmissions, and they're talking about an artifact and all this confusion about what are they looking at in kind of the icing Arctic region of Harvest. And then that's where Halo Wars 1 kind of starts. Forge is then sent down to the ground to assemble troops so then they could check out what that relic is that they're looking at, or actually what it is, and it turns out being the relic. That's the comic in a very brief nutshell. It gives a little bit more backstory to Cutter and kind of what he was doing before Spirit of Fire, and it also talks a little bit about Ripa Mormi, the Arbiter, and kind of how he became an Arbiter and how he's such a good kind of military leader. Again, it's on Waypoint, so you can go and check that out, but I felt like we haven't talked about it in a while, and it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's worth a quick read. Like, even at it's nothing excessively over the top, but even at the time, I don't think the Halo Wars like collector's edition was only like $80 or $90 at the time, wasn't it? It didn't like push the boat out money wise. It was a nice little touch with it,
right?
And because it's free, like there's no excuse to give it a quick read over.
Yeah, I mean, if you're planning on replaying Halo Wars 1 and you've either just started or about to start in preparation for Halo Wars 2, yeah, grab your sandwich or whatever, and you can just give this a quick little read, and it just gets you right in the zone, so you can load up that first mission and watch those beautiful cutscenes. But yeah, so check out that for next week. I want to thank Krysta for joining us in the first half of the show, and Aaron for coming on in the second half. If you want to connect with us and contribute to our discussions, go to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/podcastevolved. And from there you can ask questions and join debates and game nights and stuff like that. And you can also reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram at podcastevolved. We have posts about new episodes when they come out and they release, as well as different events and just reaching out to different people. I've been your host, Oran, and until next week, evolved.
Evolved.